This day also marks 2 years since George Floyd's brutal death at the hands of Minneapolis police officers. The tragedy prompted many to talk about issues of race that they perhaps previously avoided.
However, as 3 News senior commentator Leon Bibb explains, the dialogue has done little to stop the hate and the death that leaves us numb week after week.
We are at a turning point in this country, and it is overwhelming us with a deep feeling of sadness. It hit home the other day as 10 people were killed in a racially fueled rifle assault in Buffalo. The news made us cringe and cry again. Gunfire, racially motivated gunfire, beginning in the mind of a man who wielded a gun and fired into the bodies of people, all 10 killed, black. It has been 2 years since the murder of George Floyd under the police uniformed knee of a Minneapolis officer. The horrible crime so much marked a turning point in this country that we began a dialogue on the subject too often avoided: race. The whole scene gave momentum to a Black Lives Matter movement as people from throughout the world joined forces. Still, the murderous moments of hate continue in this country. Before George Floyd, there was Charleston, El Paso, Pittsburgh, and dozens more places, and victims fell. And now more victims killed in Buffalo when a gunman came running, raining bullets from a gun that had racial insults etched into the rifle barrel itself. But in reality, we are all victims where the American pathway has been filled with anger and violence fueled by racial and ethnic hatred.
At each murderous moment, not only does hate explode out of the barrel of a gun, but it spews out of the mouths of those who are spewing a racial hatred. We are weary of it all, no matter whose hand holds the gun, whose finger pulls the trigger, or out of whose mouth spews a twisted logic.
Days ago, it was Buffalo. We have become numb from the hate, and yet we are frightened as we brace ourselves in a cycle, fearful of a next horrible story to unfold in another community. After George Floyd in 2020, we cried over the tragedy, praying somehow we would be pushed to a turning point for us to be better. But 2 years later, we are still heavily burdened with a more gut-wrenching question of how do we stop the shooting before it starts?
Even more importantly, we worriedly ask ourselves, what better ways can we find to erase the hate which divides us? The same hate which keeps this nation from being what it should be. For 3 News, I'm Leon Bibb.